in North Kashmir is the region's saffron district, accounting for nearly 90% of the cultivation of the exotic purple flowers. Saffron is Kashmir's best-selling cash crop. Saffron is said to be one of the world's most expensive spices, sold at more than 250,000 rupees per kilogram, or about 4,165 US dollars. The long silky saffron filaments are 3 deep red threads of the saffron flower. These are carefully picked from the flower by hand. Farmers say more than 150,000 of these flowers are needed to produce 1 kilogram of saffron. It grows from a small plant botanically known as Crocus sativus. Its purple-colored flower is the only part mostly seen above the ground, and the harvesting season is from mid-October to early November. Saffron is typically grown by small individual farmers who use traditional quality-controlled methods to maintain its quality. But the production of saffron in the area has been declining due to uneven rainfall and erratic temperatures. Apart from poor crop yield, growing competition from Spain and Iran, both saffron-producing countries have also affected the prices of the Kashmiri variety. Muhammad Akram, 61, comes from a family of saffron farmers. His extended family for generations has depended on saffron production to make a living. But Akram, father of 3 daughters and a son, is a worried man these days. His son is no longer interested in carrying on with saffron farming, and he wants to sell off the fields. Akram says during their father's and grandfather's time, they would gather saffron in large sacks, but now they gather it in small bags. With the passage of time, saffron production is decreasing day by day. Because of that, farmers are selling their fields, and some farmers are constructing houses. Saffron farmers say lack of irrigation facilities and widespread construction activity in the fields is adversely affecting the saffron yield. Construction companies and builders have also been offering high rates for the land under saffron cultivation, as the area is not far from the region's main city, Srinagar. Farmers say nearly 20% of saffron fields of Pampur have been converted into residential plots during the last 10 years. Saffron farming was also the family vocation for 64-year-old Muhammad Sultan Shah for decades. Unable to earn a living due to declining saffron production and dwindling of profits, Shah has decided to switch to the more lucrative cloth trade. And official production figures show that saffron area has gone down from about 5,700 acres to around 3,700 acres, and the productivity too has dipped from 3.13 kg per hectare to 2.5 kg per hectare in the last few years. Concerned about the falling production of saffron, the government launched the National Saffron Mission in 2010 to boost both productivity and acreage under Kashmir's best-selling cash crop. The project will address poor techniques adopted by the growers and lack of post-harvest management that lead to low productivity and poor quality. The mission will cover drip irrigation, research, mechanization and process support to ease the saffron crisis. Dr. Firdaus Nevi, Chief Scientist and Professor at Saffron Research Station at Sher-e-Kashmir University of Agricultural Sciences and Technology, says until now, out of about 3,700 hectares, 1,700 hectares have been brought under the modern technology. Project Saffron will also help develop better marketing infrastructure and quality-based pricing of saffron, aided by a quality control lab to be set up in Pampur. The fine Pampur saffron has a distinct aroma and is widely used in the traditional Kashmiri feast Wazwan. Integral to the Kashmiri Muslim culture and tradition, Wazwan is a special multi-course meal cooked over wood fires over 4 days. The Kashmir saffron is also widely used as a flavoring agent in Indian, Mexican and Mediterranean cuisines. The government of Sri Lanka has decided to establish a small-sized zoo at the Bataramula Janakala Centre area. Secretary to the Ministry of Botanical Gardens and Public Leisure Activities Affairs, Dr. Willie Gamaj, said that similar small zoos are to be established in many parts of the country. This Bataramula Zoo has been planned without causing any environmental pollution or damage. Several local birds and some special animals are to be housed in the zoo. The assistance of the Zoological Gardens Department will be obtained for the establishment of the zoo. A land area of about 3 acres has been set aside for this purpose. The animals will be provided free movement facilities as in the Yala and Wilpatu sanctuaries. The attention of the local and foreign visitors has been focused on this area with the development of the Dia Wanawa and its surrounding areas. In the new zoo, animals such as several kinds of cattle, deer, some crocodile varieties, porcupines and several special birds can be seen. Dr. Willie Gamach said that a similar zoo will be established in the Madapatha area of Pili Yandala next year. Rajasthani turbans are considered the prestige of the state and represent an age-old tradition. The turban has become more colorful, with political leaders wearing it for election campaigning ahead of the state assembly polls. Sher Singh Rathod is famous for designing Rajasthani turbans not only in Jodhpur but around the world. One would find Sher Singh's designed turban tied on one or the other person's head during the Rajasthan Assembly polls recently. Interestingly, in the Liz Hurley and Arun Nayar's wedding in Jodhpur, Sher Singh tied the turban for Arun Nayar. There is a growing demand for these colorful turbans in the state. Sher Singh Rathod, turban designer, said during the elections the colorful turbans were high on sale. Political leaders from the Congress, BJP or BSP purchased these turbans to add a colorful flavor and a local touch to woo the voters. These turbans are the identification of Rajasthan and the very reason for the political party's attempt to connect with the people. The unique experience of Japanese food is a major draw for the country's tourism industry. From the traditional architecture, tranquil waterways and World Heritage sites such as the Kiyomizu Temple, many tourists visit the central city of Kyoto for the traditional Japanese experience. Now the Kyoto Gyon Udon Museum is the latest addition to the tourists' itinerary. Udon is a kind of noodle made from wheat flour, water and salt. It is a much-loved mainstay of Japan's culinary culture. And now the dish is the main attraction at a popular tourist destination in the city of Kyoto. A kind of noodle may seem an unlikely subject for a museum, but just as the architecture is rooted in traditional culture, so too is this unique type of food. Manager of the Kyoto Gyon Udon Museum, Ishii Masato, says they chose to open the museum in Kyoto because it had unique links to the country's heritage. One of the reasons they decided to open the museum in Kyoto is that the city is the birthplace of traditional culture. It was the former capital and residence of the imperial household. Masato says udon was eaten during events and special occasions that occurred in the imperial household. Those in service at the imperial palace who prepared the udon came from across Japan. When they returned home, they took the recipes with them and the custom of eating udon spread to the regions. He added the opening of the museum in Kyoto is again the starting point from which they hope to introduce regional variations of the dish to Japan as a whole. The museum, which also operates as a restaurant, lets visitors sample around 45 regional varieties of the traditional dishes and is currently averaging around 30,000 visitors a month. While relying on the same recipe of just wheat flour, water and salt, udon's appearance differs markedly depending on the region from which it originates. Japanese culinary culture is renowned for its incredible variety. Some of the regional variations of the dish on offer at the museum are various kinds of udon. From Gunma Prefecture, there is a kind of udon called Hirakawa udon. It's about 10 centimeters wide and comes in flat strips. Elsewhere is another form of udon which is the most popular at the museum and bears a passing similarity to certain body parts. From Sano City in Toichigi Prefecture, there is a kind of udon known as Maoki udon. It is shaped like an ear. And it's not just the appearance. Some udon differ purely through the ingredients they're mixed with. From Wakayama Prefecture, there is a kind of udon mixed with plums called ume udon. Head chef at the Kyoto Gion Udon Museum, Suzaki Arashi, explains that rather than choosing conventional noodles, visitors usually select the more unusual items on the menu. Despite the huge variety of Japanese food, udon is hard to resist. Arasi also says there are various kinds of noodles, ramen, soba and udon. Japanese people love noodles, but he thinks there is something about udon that is particularly easy to like. Aside from the food on offer, visitors can also buy more than 100 kinds of udon as souvenirs collected from all over the country. East Japan Railway unveiled its latest model of the Shinkansen bullet train for a new line connecting Tokyo and the Japan sea coast recently. The bullet train will shorten the rail trip between Tokyo and the coastal region's key city of Kanazawa from about 4 hours to about 2.5. It's nearly 500 kilometers between Tokyo and Kanazawa. JR East showed the Hokuriku Shinkansen to the media at its rail yard in Miyagi Prefecture, northern Japan. The train is fitted with a rubber device to plow through snow in the icy Hokuriku region. Power outlets are equipped for all seats. Only 18 passengers can seat in this luxury Grand Class car. It extends the Nagano Shinkansen line that links Tokyo with Nagano Prefecture in central Japan. The new line will open in March 2015. Travelers between Tokyo and Nagano will be able to ride the train from this coming March. A two-level bridge highway was opened recently to traffic north of Tehran, helping cars to pass over dozens of traffic jams at key thoroughfares eastward. Parliament Speaker Ali Larijani and Tehran Mayor Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf led the inaugural. The single-pier Sadar Bridge stretches for 5 kilometers. It also goes for additional 6 kilometers at Rems and loop roads. Up to 3,000 engineers and workers have helped build the landmark highway in less than 30 months, operating on a round-the-clock basis. The highway is fitted with freezing alert system and sound insulation walls.